Dudes, my friends at Bellesa and I are literally sending out free vibes to everyone who signs up to my giveaway. More on that in a second. Hi dudes, I'm Brooke. Since I put my Halloween decorations up in my house on September 1st, today I wanted to start a little series on my channel called Completely Spooked, where I'll do a little deep dive on something relatively spooky, creepy, or otherwise mysterious. Today we're talking ghosts. And if you haven't seen one of my other videos where it's brought up, while I am a lover of all things scary, I actually don't personally believe in anything paranormal or religious. However, this video is not going to be me trying to disprove the existence of ghosts. Do I know? I just want to talk about ghost lore in general and the different theories about ghosts. Take a shot every time I say ghosts. Oh my god, don't actually do that or you might become a ghost. Wait, no, seriously, don't take that shot. Many cultures have some variation of a belief in ghosts or people sticking around in a non-physical form after death. And while I will do my best to cover as much ghost lore as possible, if I miss anything or if you have a personal ghost experience, please tell me about it in the comments. But before I start this deep dive, let's hear a word from today's sponsor, bellesa. Well, no, it's bellesa, but do you get it because ghosts? Dudes, you know Bellesa by now. Bellesa is a bi-women company and they are the #1 company for all things sexual wellness. And guys, I'm going to show you something crazy. The first collection of silent toys is here. Meet the Whisper Collection, the world's first silent vibes. Bellesa's new Whisper Tech line makes sure you never have to choose between power and discretion. It's honestly genius. Get it, whispering? Before I get into the details, let me show you the absolute silence that is this collection. Did you hear that? Exactly. There's nothing to hear. Guys, these toys are so luxurious and pretty, and they pack a serious punch. They're extremely powerful, but somehow completely quiet. I don't get it, I'm not a scientist, but I love it. Bellesa has ensured with this collection that you can put your pleasure first without worrying about noise, and now in whatever format you prefer. You know and love the Whisper Bullet, the silent bullet vibe with 5 different speeds. It's tiny and literally inaudible, but its power is insane. Then there's the Whisper Rabbit and the Whisper Vibe, which both have 6 different vibration speeds. Whisper Vibe gives you the quietest internal stimulation that you can possibly find, and the Whisper Rabbit has independent external and internal stimulation in case you want to step it up a notch, but in silence. Honestly, this whole collection is so wild, and you have to see it, but not hear it, to believe it. That's why Bellesa and I are hooking you all up. Everyone who signs up wins a free Whisper Vibe or Rose Suction toy with any Whisper purchase. You know the Rose Suction toy by now. Not only is it absolutely adorable, but it's a super powerful and iconic suction vibe, and it's beloved for a reason. So guys, go grab your free vibe at the link in the description. Thank you again to Bellesa for sponsoring this video, and thank you guys for checking out Bellesa. Now back to me. Wow, wasn't that a great ad read? Thanks for thinking so. People believe in ghosts for a lot of different reasons. It can bring people comfort in grief when they lose a loved one to imagine that they've just moved on to a new plane of existence. Which for me, I'm like, okay, but like, are you watching me or... Like, I was raised Christian, no trauma dumping. And I remember when they would say that your dead loved ones or even God would be looking down at you, I was like, oh, always? Like all the time? Like, I don't think I want to be a part of that.
I didn't ask for that.
But everybody's different. Anyway, also, as humans who are mortal, the idea that death isn't the actual end and there is something after death can give people some hope. Although personally, to make it about me again, it is way more comforting to me that death is the end and that there is no secret unknown afterlife that I need to worry about. And also, if there is one, I would be so fucking pissed if it was just walking around the places that I frequented while I was alive, but now I have no physical body or ability to communicate with anybody or interact with the world around me. Like, I can see why ghosts are always presented as vengeful and angry, because that's so ass, dude. Like, you're just at your favorite place ever, but you can't do anything about it. I'm at Six Flags and I can't go on X2. Kill me again. Fuck that. Do I have to wait in line still? I can't go on. Yeah, that blows. I hope that shit's not real. There are also just so many unexplained things that happen in life, and if you've heard of ghosts, but not whatever specific situation that could be causing said unexplained phenomena, of course you'd be quicker to blame something on ghosts instead of, say, faulty wiring or the wind. Also, it's just more exciting to believe in the paranormal. Like, I own a Ouija board, and I've tried to use it a few times with friends because while I am a natural skeptic, I think most people would be lying if they didn't say that on some level, they're really disappointed when the planchette doesn't move. And like I said, a multitude of cultures throughout history and currently around the world feature a belief in some variation of ghosts, whether or not they call them ghosts. So a lot of people do grow up with the idea of ghosts. There are a lot of different theories that people have about what ghosts actually are. One of the most commonly talked about in social media and not cop culture. Cop culture? Get me out of there. I guess that's like how we live though. I live in America, so it's kind of cop culture.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine.
Anyway, one of the most commonly talked about in media and pop culture is the theory that ghosts are the spirits of the dead who are unable to move on due to some unfinished business. This is sometimes called an intelligent haunting. This is described by paranormal investigators as a haunting where the ghost or entity is consciously doing whatever it's doing and is interacting with its surroundings and people. This is like in ghost shows where they'll ask questions and they get answers back.
I want you to make a noise or do something and tell me that you don't like this.
That's an intelligent haunting. The ghost is effectively aware of the situation. The next theory is that what we call ghosts or hauntings aren't actually the spirit of a deceased person, but instead are actually residual energy imprinted on a physical location from a certain powerful event or emotion. This is called the residual energy theory. Many people believe in both residual and intelligent hauntings, and that it just depends on the circumstance which one you're dealing with. The idea of a residual haunting is effectively the energy that's left behind by something that has happened is playing on a loop like a song on repeat. For example, if somebody reports seeing a spirit walk up the stairs at the same time every day, that would fall under residual haunting, most likely. The spirit of that person isn't even actually there doing it, it's just that it either happened so many times repetitively, or that it happened one time in a very traumatic or powerful event that the energy of that event stuck around. Like if they walked up the stairs to get... You know what I mean? And this type of thing is, I think, part of why I don't believe in ghosts, because if one area was haunted, wouldn't everywhere be haunted? And like, do animals have ghosts? And if just humans do, that's already enough time for me to think that like just about anywhere that humans have inhabited, there would be ghosts there. So you can't say like, oh, this is a haunted house and this isn't. Because like for fucking forever, there's been people in that area probably, you know, just by like odds. So what are the odds that nothing emotionally charged or repetitive enough has happened in that area, or that no one has been punished there, or whatever the theory is that is, you know, that a ghost would be there? It just seems weird to me that hasn't happened at every corner of the world by now, if you know what I mean. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. Guys, I was just looking at my backyard camera because we had some raccoons in the backyard, and I literally captured a ghost. This timing is so insane. I'm literally freaking out. Just look at this. Okay, I just had to show you guys that. Now we can get back to the video. There are also a few different, more traditional descriptions of ghosts. One is that they are thought to be vengeful spirits. This is similar to the unfinished business belief of intelligent hauntings, except vengeful ghosts are specifically coming into the land of the living from the afterlife by choice to get revenge for a cruel death, poor treatment in life, or lack of a funeral. In some cultures, the belief in a vengeful spirit is what led to the common practice of funerals, proper burials, and generally respecting the dead. Another more traditional belief about ghosts is that they are actually imprisoned on this plane of existence, unable to join the afterlife because of horrible things that they did while they were alive. This belief would actually explain why so many ghost stories involve the ghost being a fucking asshole and not just some normal guy, because the ghost is there because he's an asshole. Can you guys imagine if this is true, in however many years, being in the White House and dealing with a Trump ghost? Oh my god, I genuinely hope it's not true just for that reason alone. You're like trying to sleep and you just hear like echoing in the walls and it's like, I don't know where the light is. I can't find it. They're probably keeping me here even though I'm dead because I was such a good president. The best president. They can't let me go. It's too bad. I need to go to the light. Can't find it. That's my best I got. And I really apologize for it. I sincerely do. There is also the religious explanation of ghosts, which is typically that anything that somebody might think is a ghost is actually a demon that's actively trying to trick you. I don't have much to say about this one because if I do, you guys might catch on to the fact that I am a demon actively trying to trick you. Speaking of which, you guys should all subscribe to my channel. Who knows what could happen if you don't? While everybody's stories are different, there are a few things that many ghost encounters that we hear about do tend to have in common. The first being the feeling of a presence. People often describe the feeling of being watched or followed, or otherwise not alone, even though they don't necessarily see anything. It's the, she's right behind me, isn't she? Other common reported sensations are cold spots and temperature shifts. This could be sudden chills, drafts, or cold areas in otherwise normal spaces. People also describe hearing strange sounds, such as footsteps, knocks, or doors creaking that are unaccounted for. Okay, there's your strange sound. They can also hear mumbles that kind of sound like words, but you quit. The fact that I fucked up my wording on that, insane. What I was trying to say is, they might also hear mumbles that kind of sound like words, but you can't quite make them out, kind of like what I just did. Those who've had ghost encounters will often report being pushed, touched, or tugged, or feeling pressure on their chest. Though the pressure on the chest is often tied to sleep paralysis, which I will talk about more in a minute. People will also say that they see objects move. This can include like doors slamming, things sliding, items vanishing and reappearing, or things otherwise moving without being touched. In that same vein, within stories of hauntings, it's also not uncommon to hear that the electronics started going crazy. Some people will report lights flickering. That sentence is beating my ass. Some people report their lights flickering, TVs turning on or off, or EVPs, which are electronic voice phenomena. Throughout all of these accounts, full-on ghost sightings are surprisingly rare. Most people describe what they saw as fleeting shadows, figures out of the corner of their eye, or vaguely human-like shapes. This also, in my opinion, lends credibility to the people telling those stories, because I'm more inclined to believe someone who had an almost unremarkable sighting than someone who's like, no, I swear I saw a Victorian child demon screaming at me and tugging on my leg. Like, if you're lying, why not give it some oomph, you know? That doesn't mean I believe that there was a ghost, but I believe that they saw what they saw, like what they said they saw. Most of these sightings or experiences also tend to happen at night, often with low lighting. They tend to be in old houses or other emotionally charged places, such as hospitals, prisons, or places where a crime or other horrible event took place. And often the people in the scenario were either stressed, grieving, or primed to expect ghosts. Basically, high emotion and bad lighting seem to be a ghost's comfort zone. While a lot of people might hear about a haunting or other paranormal situation having happened and avoid it as much as possible, there is also a huge market for spooky tourism. I myself have been to the Whaley House a few different times. If you're not familiar with it, the Whaley House is a historic and supposedly haunted house turned into a museum in Old Town San Diego. They even call it America's most haunted house. I'm not sure where that metric comes from though, or if it's like a greatest movie of the summer type nonsense award. Personally, whenever I've gone, I've never seen anything interesting really, but the staff always does tell fun stories of the spooky things that they've seen. But from what I understand, none of these little fuckers ever pop out of the fucking wall and have like a huge cum shot. These types of places are popular for quite a few different reasons. People like the adrenaline rush of going. They want to face something scary, maybe they're interested in the history, or maybe they want to film it and put it online.
Hanging?
Now, science does have explanations for a lot of the common ghost experiences. And I'm not saying this to change anybody's mind, I'm just giving the full story. One of the scariest culprits could be carbon monoxide poisoning. Faulty heating systems, fireplaces, or poorly ventilated spaces can release carbon monoxide, which is an odorless and colorless gas. Prolonged exposure to carbon monoxide reduces oxygen delivery to the brain, which can cause headaches, dizziness, nausea, and most importantly, hallucinations, paranoia, and confusion. There are quite a few documented cases actually where families believed their house was haunted, only to discover dangerous carbon monoxide leaks were the real culprit. For example, in the 1920s, the H family believed that their home was haunted because they were all hearing voices and footsteps and having these feelings of dread and even seeing phantom figures. A doctor ended up looking into it and found that their coal furnace was leaking carbon monoxide into their home. Once it was repaired, all of the haunting experiences stopped. And it was almost too late for them, so it happened just in time. So dudes, so sincerely, make sure you have a working carbon monoxide detector in your residence. Dead serious. Or you'll be dead. Serious. Similarly, certain molds, such as black mold, whose scientific name I will insert right now. Black mold scientific name, pronunciation.
Stachybotrys chartarum.
That's the one. Release spores and mycotoxins that can affect neurological and respiratory health. Exposure to this mold may cause symptoms like memory problems, mood swings, anxiety, and visual distortions. A damp, musty environment, which is often the case with a lot of these old haunted houses, can make people feel uneasy, and the neurological effects of spores may amplify perfections of the supernatural presence. There's also the case of infrasound, which are the sound waves below the range of human hearing. While we can't consciously hear these frequencies, our bodies can sense them. Prolonged exposure to infrasound can trigger unease, nausea, anxiety, and even visual hallucinations, such as seeing shadowy figures. For example, in the 1990s, an engineer named Vic Tandy investigated reports of a haunted lab and traced the feelings of dread back to a fan, generating low-frequency vibrations that fucked with the human eye and created visual distortions. Okay dudes, future Brooke here. What I just said about infrasound is actually not universally accepted by the scientific community. So there's considered to be anecdotal or experimental evidence that certain infrasound frequencies can cause some visual disturbances or feelings of a presence, but it isn't explicitly proven. Vic Tandy's experiment did happen, but from what I could tell, the consensus seems to be that further studies didn't fully replicate the same effects, and that they suggest that the infrasound effects vary too much from person to person to say it was fact. Okay, I just had to throw that in there because I never want to spread misinformation. Anyway, back to old me. Electromagnetic fields, or EMFs, are another possible explanation for paranormal experiences. High levels of EMF from faulty wiring, appliances, or poorly shielded electrical sources can affect the brain and nervous system. Some studies suggest that strong EMF exposure may cause dizziness, nausea, memory problems, or a sensation of being watched. Paranormal investigators often carry EMF meters, partly because EMF fluctuations have been linked to paranormal experiences in old or decaying buildings. So this one actually kind of goes both ways. Then, of course, there's sleep paralysis. This is a very common phenomenon that occurs when a person wakes during REM sleep, but the body is still immobilized, leaving them conscious but unable to move. The brain often blends waking reality with dream imagery, producing vivid hallucinations such as shadowy figures, footsteps, and the classic demon sitting on the chest. Because the experience is both terrifying and physically real, as far as the paralysis, pressure on the chest, difficulty breathing, it's been interpreted as supernatural across cultures for centuries. I have had sleep paralysis, and it is truly very fucking terrifying, even after you wake up and realize it's over. I was lucky enough to not see a scary figure though. I had a dream where I was running from some guy in a dark alley, and okay, you know when you explain a dream and it was so scary? And then you go to explain it and it's not fucking scary, but okay, I swear to God, it was so scary. So I was running in this dark alley, and as I was running, the more I ran, I was floating higher and higher off the ground. And then I started getting really scared in my dream because it got to the height where if I fell, I'd get really hurt or die. And then of course I start falling in my dream, but it was like this. I wasn't falling straight. I was plummeting this way, plummeting forward. So I'm basically like plummeting forward into like what's gonna be asphalt. And then as soon as I would have crashed into the ground, I woke up, but I was in sleep paralysis. And I thought that my husband was pushing my chest down really, really hard, like into the bed. So I was trying to tell him to stop, but I couldn't move or talk at all, and I could barely breathe. So I was just like I was doing that. Then my husband woke me up for real, and what was actually happening, I guess, was just that I was on my back breathing super weird, and he woke me up because he thought I might be having a nightmare. But yeah, that was crazy. He was rightfully offended that he was technically my sleep paralysis demon. Because in my sleep state, I thought that he was like accidentally pushing on my chest. I don't know. It didn't make sense. But I digress. I have not since had sleep paralysis, thankfully, and hopefully I don't jinx it, because I never sleep on my back intentionally. Even though I think it's really comfy sometimes, I don't do it because I don't want sleep paralysis, and that's when it usually happens. Lastly, there's also pareidolia, which is the brain's tendency to find meaningful patterns, especially faces, in random or ambiguous stimuli. Shadows, reflections, or folds in fabric can all look like faces or figures because our brains are wired to detect human forms quickly as an evolutionary survival trait. Some say this explains why people often see ghosts in photographs, window reflections, or dark corners where shapes are unclear. Overall, whether or not I believe in ghosts, paranormal stories will always be really interesting to me. While I am a natural skeptic in nature, I will never hear somebody's haunting story and jump to discredit it. Also, discredit it sounds like I'm saying tit, and that's really funny. There are a lot of things in this world that we don't understand, and what happens after we die is just one of those things. But no matter what you believe, if it brings you peace and you don't treat others poorly because of it, I'm all for it. I might get comfort from my belief that death is the end, but for a lot of people, that would be a sad and disconcerting belief to hold. So if believing in ghosts is comforting to you, or it's just the conclusion that you've come to from your own experiences and studies, I love that for you. Alright guys, I'm gonna call it right there. For more videos, check out my second channel, Brookesharks Bites, where I post beauty and lifestyle content. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and you can join my Patreon. I post some extras over there, and I also have a Patreon-only Discord. Thanks again to Bellesa for sponsoring this video, and don't forget to join that giveaway in the description. Don't forget to beat the shit out of the like button and murder the subscribe button, and if you're feeling crazy, you can haunt the bell. The next video will be back to our regularly scheduled programming, but stay tuned for more Completely Spooked as well. I'll see you guys soon with another video.
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.